So let's see what I'm looking at right here. This is May 14th, Zodiac. And what I wanted to bring up that I'm seeing is actually the position of the moon right now. The moon is pretty important right now. Well, the moon is always important, but right now, especially what's going on with the moon in Libra being in conjunct. I'm going to show you this in conjunction. Let's see. In conjunction is right here. It's an inconjunction, aka a quincunx. Is that how you pronounce it? Well, it's inconjunct anyway. The moon in Libra is inconjunct with Neptune in Pisces. And what I'm looking at is Mars is in Pisces and Jupiter just now transits to Aries. Especially is an inconjunct in nature of an inconjunction overall in the first place. It has to do with a bit of a blind spot in terms of the zodiac. It's a bit of a blind spot and it's a bit of a challenge, but it's a challenge area that if you take a moment to work, it's really worth procuring out of. So this line, it's really worth what you might be able to yield for yourself. This line, this inconjunct between particularly Neptune in Pisces and the moon in Libra, what it also means that I'm getting that I might be able to talk about is the fact that it's got to do with what's not fair and coming into a bit of an equilibrium with what's not fair and the fact that sort of breaking through just the constant need to make things fair and sort of, you might say, really coming to a grounded just realization that it's not going to be fair. And just like that saying, things get worse before they get better. You know, that's not fair. And right now things aren't fair. And what we're doing is we are sort of owning up to the unfairness of it all, you might say, and how we are going to work through still, how we're still going to work through and realize that these challenges are still divine forces that have our back through all these challenges. So even though it's not fair, that's true, and we are sort of relinquishing to it or letting go to the constant need to just grasp at, seize hold of, and sort of want to shake things down until we get the fairness lunch money out of it, so to speak. Kind of imagery right there is, we all tend to just want to shake things or push the square peg into a round hole and try to force things to fit. And this is about just realizing that, it might not fit and it's not fair, but what can you do with the closed doors, or what can you do with the no, not right now, now's not the time. What can you still work with that? And you might say, even with an external unfairness or what's going on that's not fair, what can you bring to your world that even though you're coming to grips and you're coming to terms with that and you're willing to admit that and move on from maybe some dashed hopes or dreams or some motions that you'd laid down that you had a lot of hope in, or a lot of what you might want to say. You put some chips on it. You've stacked some chips up towards that thing, put some bets on that thing maybe, dropped a lot of efforts to make sure it would start to happen. And maybe that still actually is happening based on some of the other things I'm seeing. But if you were to still look past that, maybe good things are happening. So the unfairness that I'm talking about doesn't necessarily mean that shit was shut down on you and now things are not happening. Maybe things are still happening, yet there's still an air of a frustration of something's going on that you or we all didn't see coming. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention real quick, and astrology can help with stuff that you otherwise don't want to see coming, is the moon is the mother. Remember, the moon is the mother, and I look at what's going on that's very, very highly relevant in the world right now, is the whole formula thing, the formula crisis right now in America that's in all the headlines and is on an all-time high. And I look at that because that's not fair right now. That's not fair. And the moon is also the mother, and Libra is the sign of things that have to deal with fairness and social ease, you might say, social adulthood, just social flow, very flow aesthetic, fairness in all exchanges, equilibrium, all exchanges, back, forth, up, down, this, that, any sort of polar states that could be, is Libra as the scales, and as the seventh sign tends to be all about the fairness when it comes to that, and social niceties, niceness, that sort of thing. So, but right now, this is not fair. Right now, we look at the moon, right? In this particular area, the moon is the mother. The moon is the milk, the saucer cream milk dish in the sky is what I've often compared it to lots of times. So, that's something that's going on that we're seeing, that we are dealing with. It's a harshness. It's a harshness. What can you do in this harshness of just things, almost like with the moon being inconjunct to Neptune, and Neptune is very much about dreams. And it's like we're seeing right now just the thinning of the veil, the poking through the veil with a hot poker in the American dream, and waking up to realities, things we in America were able to take for granted, like formula on every single shelf. And I was watching some news about how there was a formula crisis way back in February, actually, and it was being withheld from the public. There's a lot that's being withheld from the public, and I've talked about that quite a bit. One thing I talked about was what's going on with the stocks right now. And you see Station Mercury in the upper right corner to your screen. Station Mercury, I was talking about stocks and crashes before it was going on even whatsoever in the news. So what I do astrologically, I take very seriously, and it's highly relevant. So when I put that in the upper corner there, in the upper left corner that says Cash App X Overus Media or PayPal Visions Electric Blue, that is because I take what I do very seriously. It is not a get rich quick scheme. It is not a pay for my course. I'm sure there's very good courses out there that you can pay for, so you can DIY at home, but this is not that sort of thing. It's not pay for my 8-week course and you'll start making money on your astrology. This is my own service I do myself that is custom, and I have what's going on right now in the stars, and I talk about what's going on right now, very relevant in the world. I take it very seriously. It's not probably the one thing I do that I drop that is more make money now, but still highly quality, is my Sky Dream that's there, which is my print on demand stuff through Printful and sometimes Redbubble. Printful, Printify, and I'm looking at HugePod, some of the other print on demand. So Skydream, my print on demand, that's more make money now, which is lots of other people can do it and are doing it, even though my designs are super unique. I've been a graphic designer longer than I've been an astrologer, for sure. I've been a graphic designer, and just the discipline, blood, sweat, and tears to make that something very unique. So my print on demand is unique. But back to my astrology, back on track here, is my astrology is just very, 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 I don't do what other astrologers do in terms of how they interpret things. I don't interpret specific degrees, and I definitely don't interpret them the exact same way over and over again, the way many are taught to do in astrology. This is my very specific service. You don't find it the same anywhere else. And again, I take it very seriously. I don't go to astrologer's website and tap in with my keys a bunch of info and then just ramble off what is pre-existing. This is intuitive readings. This is all custom intuitive readings. Well, what we're looking at right now, again with the moon right before the full moon eclipse, the total lunar eclipse, the only one in this year, is Mercury is retrograde, and then Saturn goes retrograde right after that. So this is all hugely relevant stuff that we're going to be hitting up over and over and over again as we go along right here on my page, on my channel here, Exoverse Interdimensional. But what we're looking at is the moon, who is the mother and instincts and emotion in the home and the security of the house and the security of the family life, is in the sign of Libra. So what's going on right before this total lunar eclipse in Scorpio is just the overall challenge with the inconjunct with Neptune and Pisces, which has been there for a long time. But with Mars and Pisces, we're seeing something that's normally all stocked up. It's all stocked up and fully loaded, fully charged, ready to roll, is hitting not a weak spot, but a stopping point. You might say a stopping point, or a moment of transcendence. And transcendence requires the ability to question. So we're seeing a questioning spot. This is very much has to do with a questioning spot and a revealing of things that we often just took for granted, to where we are just able to go every day without having to think much about the inner workings and inner cogs and the inner processes involved. And that's led us to a crossroads and a juncture right now where we are seeing that there's being, like, Mars is the hot poker, sort of just poking through the veils right now of things that we haven't thought much about, and just been like, oh, well, there's a man behind the curtain that makes all that happen. And there's these things called corporations behind the curtain. And, Mr. Politician gets that for me, which is why he was elected to office. So I don't have to think about it. I don't have to look at the inner cogs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have to think. I can just go on about my day with going to work, then coming home and binging on whatever shows I want to watch, or spending time with my family if I'm good enough to do that, on and on and on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're looking at a stopping point, or again, more than a stopping point, is just a questioning point, is something big is going on, something big that causes you to question your reality. And with this current inconjunction between Pisces and Libra with the moon, it would be something that deals with the mother and maternity and the ability to care for the house and the ability to bring security to house, which is why it makes so much sense to me that it would fall on the formula shelves when we go out and buy formula, and take for granted that tomorrow there's going to be formula, even though we were told back in February there was a crisis going on. And in order to keep people from panicking, there was this security brought to the house, which was more like the Capricorn style security, which is, don't tell the American public this. That's Saturn, not just Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn. Don't tell the collective this. Just don't tell the collective this, so there's not a panic, and we can keep the collective working the way we need it to work. Don't tell them this. They will go off. There will be panicking, and there will be hoarding, which is why they're blaming hoarders, and hoarders are not to blame. Something else is to blame that's even more sinister. That's it would take a lot to go into that right now, but I would say you can look things up yourself and see what's going on with formula being brought to other people who are not legal and coming into this country, and they're being sustained and they're being fed to continue to come into this country and attack the middle class. The impoverished is being welcomed in here to just siphon and suck off, and parasitic behavior, just attack. And they are coming in here, and what they're bringing in here is not just disease and darkness. They're bringing disease and darkness. They're bringing in their own demons from their own poverty, but they're bringing in disease. They're bringing in impoverished neediness. They are bringing in, I was just having this conversation, what all is coming in through the borders as they are streaming in. is Title 42 is dropped. But this is again going back more towards my own politics right now. But yeah, they're just bringing in so much disease, crime. Crime is a spiritual disease. I was tying all that together as I was talking to my mom and then my Jessica earlier today. So they're some of the people that listen to me most of the time. No, I'm kidding, all the time. Yeah, they're so great. They're the best. So they're my favorite people in life. I love you, Mom. I love you, Jessica. So I just wanted to bring that up, and that's something very important and hugely relevant going on right now as the moon goes into the total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And like I said, it is huge, powerful transformations and deals with like you might say the wavelength of just transformations that are apocalyptic. And by that, I mean, yeah, like the traditional sense of the word apocalyptic, but I just mean, yeah, earth shattering, just sudden hits of transformative light, almost like you might say like what that light that we receive, but after a huge crisis, after a huge like personal transfiguration, personal death, and realizing that we don't die, but it feels like we're dying. And yeah, we're dying on some level, but it's not the complete death 100%. It's an ordeal we're going through to reach what seems like the other side, where there we find ourselves again, much better and more like leveled up, you might say. But to level up, you get your ass beat in the game of life. And that's what this eclipse brings on. It is... that's the sound of my connection. Poor connection right now. So I'm on the phone with Jessica. I'm going to get back to Jessica, actually. But I wanted to record this because it's such an important thought. So it was really important to get down. But right before the total lunar eclipse, we're seeing coming to terms with dealing with an unfairness or a frustration of everything just mentioned overall, and a frustration of insecurity, maybe, and a frustration of feeling like our vulnerability towards our enemies who've been waiting for us to be insecure. So that's happening at the national identity level, but that's probably happening on a lot of other levels for many of us, very many of us. So, but again, like it says up there in the corner, Cash App, Exoverse Media, if this has brought something to you that can help you, please, for God's sake, please don't be a stranger. Cash App, Exoverse Media, if you can just give a love gift for that, you would just be the coolest. You know, you would be so cool, and you help me to keep uploading and bringing quality content. So, and then PayPal, visionselectricblue@yahoo.com. If you don't use Cash App or don't like the feel of Cash App but have been used to PayPal the way many of us are used to PayPal, you can just give a love gift here and just say, that's for your astrology the other night. That's for your reading and some of your thoughts on what's going on in the world. Or even, yeah, I would like a personal reading with some of what you just mentioned and what's going on with me in my own chart. Then we can go from there. Then we would work from there. Again, I take this very seriously enough to that it's going on YouTube, where I'm keep putting it on YouTube and my comments are open. So I wouldn't offer this if I was afraid of people talking about me the wrong way. So I take what I do very seriously, and I know my skills, and I know what I can offer. And this is not a generic listing of dates and then reading what I've got at other sites. This is me. So very strict discipline, a very something that I've woven together with my audio healing that you were able to just hear last night, and then my other visual arts and what else I do, why it's called Exoverse Interdimensional, other than it sounds cool and it sounds like something from some kind of a futuristic world or something, I don't know. So I'm going to talk to Jessica. I'm going to get back with Jessica here as she's watching one of her new favorite shows. So have a great night, and thanks for tuning into this. Namaste. Bye-bye for now.